Hi everyone, Yana is here and you're watching the Inspired by Pinterest video series. So today I was inspired by a picture of a kitchen towel or like a tea towel that I found on Pinterest, and I very much liked pretty much everything about it. I like the triangles, I like the white spaces in between the triangles, I like the color scheme and the little font or like the little writings on that towel. So I'm going to use that image, that towel, to create a card today, and I'm starting out with a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock, and I've folded and trimmed it down into an A2 top folding card. Now I'm using a pencil, just a simple pencil and a ruler, and I'm drawing some lines or sort of like creating a guide on my cardstock that I'm going to be using to do my stenciling or my masking. So I'm not using any stencil for this. I'm simply going to use a washi tape, a roll of washi tape. This one is from Tim Holtz, and I especially like it because it's a very low tack. It barely holds onto your paper, and with this particular washi tape, I'm sure that I'm not going to rip or damage my paper. But you can use masking tape, or you can just use a post-it note or something like that. And what I'm doing now is I'm basically following the guides that I created on my paper. I'm adhering this Tim Holtz washi tape on top of it, and I'm using some pigment inks from Clear Snap, and I'll talk about these a bit more later. I'm using these to lay some color. Notice that when I was creating my guide on my paper, I not only drew these triangles, but I also allowed for the white spaces in between the triangles. Now, this is very important because this white space actually makes, I think that it makes these triangles to be more defined and stand out from the background a little bit better. So be sure to to allow some room for the white spaces on your background. Now, I also wanted to say that you can use a stencil for this, but I did not have a stencil with triangles like that. So I basically created my own, well, not a stencil exactly, but I did create that pattern using some creative masking. You can use like a Silhouette machine or a Cricut machine and maybe create a digital stencil and a die cut it and use it. But I find that this masking seems to be a little bit more easier and faster. I also wanted to say that I did spend quite some time when drawing the background or sketching that background with a pencil. I think I spent like maybe 5 or 10 minutes on that. And then when adding color, I spent pretty much last time when doing that, when adding color. So basically it took me longer to draw the pattern with a pencil line that add color to my background. And now I'm basically adding different colors onto my background, and I'm using the same colors that were there on the image that I was inspired by. So I have 2 different pinks. I have a light pink and a dark pink. I also have a very light green color. I should have used a little bit darker green, but I didn't have any suitable dark green on hand, so I use this lemongrass ink, and I'm also using two brown inks from Clear Snap. Now, all of these are pigment inks. You can also use other kinds of inks. You can use your distress inks for this, or any other inks from other manufacturers. You just might want to test them first and see how well they look when applied to paper in this manner or in this fashion. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention, and this is very important, if you're using pigment inks, you want to make sure to apply washi tape on top of these pencil lines. Make sure to cover these pencil lines. The thing is that pigment ink dries on top of the paper. So if you were to apply it on top of the pencil line, you won't be able to erase it. Basically, you will cover that pencil line with the pigment ink. So basically, you will just end up with a pencil line and like a layer of color on top. So make sure to cover up the pencil lines if you do want to erase them. That's why I was trying my best. I was trying to do my best to cover up the pencil lines with the washi tape. I did manage to erase almost all of them. However, I did have some left in a few areas. I wish I could have erased all of them, but I simply couldn't because I had pigment ink on top of these triangles. Now, if you use distress inks, you should not have this kind of problem, but I simply like using these pigment inks from Clear Snap for a bunch of different techniques. You know, they're so versatile, and I really, really like these inks. Now, I'm moving on to a next step of my background, and I'm trying to add some texture to it. Now, I'm not adding the actual like dimensional texture. I'm still keeping this to a very simple one layer card, but I did want to add some like a faux texture. So I used this large stamp from Hero Arts, this woodblock stamp, and I masked the entire background of my paper but one triangle, and I used some Clear Snap, that was the Clear Snap white, frost white ink, and I stamped that pattern on top of my pink triangles. Now, notice that you could have added that pattern to the darker gray or to the lighter gray triangles, but not to the light pink or to the light green triangles. This white ink looks it looks awesome on dark surfaces. So if you want to add texture to your background or to a background like this, or to other projects, make sure to add it on top of a darker surface. So now I'm moving on to stamping a sentiment, and I'm using these tiny words from the snippets set from Hero Arts and Studio Calico, and I did do some sort of like creative inking. I used a couple different sentiments from that set, the smallest, the tiniest ones, and I tried to make sure that they would fit inside of one of the triangles that I had on my card. And I stamped a few of them like in full size, and then for the other ones like hip hip hooray, I only stamped the hip hooray, and then the way to go I split into two portions and stamped way in one line and then to go in the other line. You can mask your sentiments using washi tape, or you can mask your stamps using washi tape, or you can cut your stamps like Jennifer McGuire does all the time. But for this particular card, I thought that I can just do some creative inking and have it look good that way. I also added a couple of wooden stars to my card. I really like these little stars from Studio Calico. They're so nice and versatile, and I've been adding them to quite a lot of different cards of mine lately. And I also added a couple of sequins just here and there, sort of like scattered across my card. So this finishes up my project for today. I hope you enjoyed this like a no stencil stenciling technique, and please do give this idea a try. Pull out some washi tapes or some masking tape and create a fun background on your project. Thank you for watching. And if you're looking for a supply list for this card, you can find it below in the video description or on my blog, and I'll have a link to that in my video. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to click like, drop me a comment, and maybe share this video with your friends. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.